Housing is an issue that appears to be a winner for you. You come from a humble background, but you're doing pretty well right now. Like the PM, you live in a beautiful home in Ottawa. You're not worried about your your house payments. Well, I mean, I know you still have a home in South End of Ottawa, but this isn't
I'm worried
something
about
that,
everybody else's.
yeah, but so how did you pick up on this issue when it's not something that would have been front of mind for you with saying, oh, wow, look at what's happened?
I picked up on this issue in late 2020, and what I was seeing is that housing costs were actually moderating in late 2029. They started to drop at the beginning of COVID. COVID should have caused housing prices to go way down. But then in spring of 2020, the central bank printed about $400 billion and kept printing. And that money started off, it's fed into the financial system. It's lent out disproportionately to wealthy investors whose connections in the banking system get them to the front of the line. And they then bid up housing prices. And they did. In the period after money printing began, housing costs rose 50% in 2 years. I think that's probably the fastest 2-year increase ever in Canadian history. And it perfectly correlates with the time that money was being printed. Some people try to blame COVID. It makes no sense because, of course, COVID brought lower wages, lower GDP, lower immigration, and the inability to actually go and visit houses. So COVID actually should have reduced housing costs, but miraculously they skyrocketed. And then I knew that this was going to be a nightmare for our working class people. And so I started speaking up about it. I started also to research the longer term problem that preceded the money printing, and that is the bureaucratic gatekeepers who block construction. And what I found is that we have the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on. And the reason is we have the second slowest building permits in the OECD. Permitting costs equal $1.3 million for every new home in Vancouver. In Ontario, many municipalities have raised development charges 900% in a couple of decades, even though there have been no 900% increases in the costs for those municipalities. Montreal's blocked 24,000 homes. Winnipeg just blocked 2,000 homes next to a transit station built for those homes because the city councillor said his constituents didn't want neighbors. And what is Trudeau doing? He's giving these bureaucratic gatekeepers more federal infrastructure money to gatekeep. So my common sense plan is, one, cap spending and cut waste to balance the budget so we can bring down interest rates. Two, let's require municipalities permit 15% more home building per year as a condition of getting federal funds. Those that beat the target will get bonuses. I'll require every federally funded transit station be pre-permitted for high-density apartments all around them, so seniors and students can live next to the bus and train. Sell off 6,000 federal buildings, thousands of acres of federal land, so we can build, 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 build. This is a common sense plan to build homes, not print money.
But that sounded like a plan, and I keep hearing from Justin Trudeau that you have no plan. So
you just heard the plan, and I've been talking. I rolled out my housing plan, I think it was in spring of 2022. It's almost 2 years ago now. And at the time, he said everything was fine. So now he's trying to play catch up. But the problem is that I think he's building on his earlier failures, which is let's build more bureaucracy. He's pumping more cash into local bureaucracies, and they reward him with a photo op. He shows up to the mayor, says, "Here's your check, Mr. Mayor." The mayor turns around and gives Trudeau a pat on the back and thanks him for all the wonderful things he's done to double housing costs. And the media gives them gushing coverage, but that will not reduce rent or mortgage payments between now and the election.